Welcome to the Lowdown Wrestling Show. My name is Richard, and I will be hosting alone today because my brother is busy with some errands and other things to do at the moment. He will be back next week, and we will be releasing things back on schedule, or perhaps a little earlier than Saturday if things work out for the better. I will be going through my thoughts and opinions on everything that has been going on this week in wrestling, so let's get to it. Starting off with the news, unfortunately, Masa Saito passed away at the age of 76. He was in a tag team with Mr. Fuji in the early 80s and had a career in WCW for a little bit in the 90s. Most of his career was with various partners and tag teams, and most of his success was with, I believe, the NWA. He was training to be the torchbearer for the 2020 Olympics in Japan, but passed away because of complications with his Parkinson's disease. We offer our condolences to his friends and family, and will always remember the work that he's done for wrestling. I personally don't know too much of what he's done because I was too young, but I do remember hearing about him because of Mr. Fuji and did watch a lot of his work in the WWE network. So in other news, Hulk Hogan has been reinstated in the WWE Hall of Fame. He was backstage at Extreme Rules, apparently apologizing to everyone, and there were reports saying that he was being filmed for a network show as well. So I don't know how sincere his apology was, because the locker room seems pretty divided, and I would understand why. I personally think he should be in the Hall of Fame because of all the stuff he's done. And when people think of wrestling, they think of Hulk Hogan, at least all the older fans, anyways. I was never a huge fan of Hogan. I was more of like a Macho Man fan. But it's hard to deny everything that he's done. And yeah, what he said was really, really bad. And I don't like what he said at all in those tapes, but maybe we could try giving him a second chance and see where things go. But yeah, everyone seems divided on it, and we'll see what happens going from there. San Diego Comic Con was over this weekend, and of course, there's always a panel for a lot of wrestlers for the Mattel line of figurines. But John Cena was actually out and cosplaying as Bumblebee from Transformers. And I think when people found out who he was, obviously they surrounded him, but most likely there to promote the movie since he's in it. But I just thought that was some interesting news. And then the last piece of news that we have is Stephanie McMahon stated that she's going to make a big announcement on Monday Night Raw. When she says that, it always seems to be about the women's revolution. But I believe, and most people believe, it's going to be an all-women's pay-per-view or a women's tag team division. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, they've been putting together the story with Lana and Naomi teaming up for whatever reason, and then Bailey and Sasha. So most likely it will lead to a tag team tournament, but yeah, we'll see what happens. That's all for news, and we'll go back to the reviews for this week, starting with Extreme Rules. Oh man, just to state, I really didn't like the pay per view. I thought it was awful, but the wrestlers, they did a great job, and man, it was just crazy. All the stuff that happened that night. I wish we would have streamed it. Actually, would like to apologize for that. We were going to stream the pay per view, but we had problems with YouTube saying we had to wait like 24 hours or something. And I don't remember doing that before when I used to stream video games and stuff. So yeah, I apologize for that. I didn't expect that to happen, and we will definitely make sure that we have everything ready for SummerSlam, and we will be definitely streaming for that. So with that out of the way, Extreme Rules. There was just a lot I didn't like about it. I did like the pre-show with Sin Cara and Andrade Cien Almas, and their match was pretty good. It was short, but it was pretty cool seeing both of them and their crazy moves that they do. But I think the biggest news is the deleter of worlds versus the B team. I didn't expect B team to get the victory. We'll see what happens from there. It was very unexpected. I predicted it was going to be Wyatt and Hardy, but I predicted wrong. What else is there here? I didn't really like the Carmella match. I predicted that she was gonna win, but it was just kind of goofy and cluttered. Kind of cool spot with Ellsworth hanging from the cage, but other than that, I didn't really like it. I think most people didn't like it either. And then I guess the other big thing was Jeff Hardy versus Nakamura for the U.S. Championship. It was, I don't even think I can call it a match because it ended so quickly. I don't know if this has to do with Jeff being injured or what. What I thought he was going to retain, and I definitely was wrong about that. I have mixed feelings about it. A lot of people in the crowd just summed it up pretty well, just looking shocked, like, okay, really? Is that it? So, yeah, I felt the same. I wish I could have recorded my reaction for that for the stream, but next time, hopefully there's not something like that. Um, the last match though, just skipping all the way towards the end with Ziggler and Rollins, it was just awful, and most people said it online. The crowd was just very rude. They're doing the countdown like every minute, and they had to take the clock down, and they started just booing, doing the wave or whatever, and then they put the clock up. They were doing yes chants, and it's ridiculous. I don't know why the crowd did that. And they were just being disrespectful to the wrestlers, and it was honestly difficult to watch. I mean, the match was okay. It was kind of weird with how many pins that both of them got, and I don't know. I did like the match, but it did start off weird, but it got better towards the end, and then the end with the sudden death. I don't know why they didn't even have that in the first place. Maybe just to get Kurt Angle to come out for a pop because his hometown. But it's like, okay, I thought it just ended in a draw, and I was like, what's gonna happen next? So yeah, it ended in a draw, and then all of a sudden the match restarts for like 5 seconds or whatever. McIntyre interferes and Ziggler wins. So I don't know. It was just weird overall, but the crowd definitely did not help. And it was strange because as far as I remember, no one really said anything beforehand, like being rude for all the other matches. So why were people rude now? I At the end, I have no clue. But overall, it was just I didn't think it was a good pay per view. I felt like it could have been better. I didn't really have any expectations going in. I'd say probably my favorite match would be the Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley match, and was very happy to see Lashley win with the spear. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from there because they have a rematch tomorrow. So on Raw of July 16th in Buffalo, New York, Kurt Angle starts off by coming out into the ring. He calls out Brock Lesnar, and instead Paul Heyman comes out, and obviously Lesnar is not at the arena, but Kurt Angle says Lesnar has to compete at SummerSlam or he is no longer the champion. And the crowd was getting into it. They were chanting "Strip the title," which I thought was pretty funny. And then all of a sudden, there's just a string of interruptions with Bobby Lashley coming out first, and then Drew McIntyre interrupts, and then Seth Rollins interrupts, and then Elias interrupts, and keeps on pushing out his debut album that's gonna drop on apparently July 23rd. And then Finn Balor interrupts, and man, the last one was Roman Reigns, and the crowd was just booing like crazy. But yeah, Kurt Angle sets up two triple threat matches for all six competitors that same night. The winner of those two matches will face off in a match tomorrow, actually. And then that winner will face Lesnar at SummerSlam. So the first triple threat match was with Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Um, I thought the match was pretty good. The crowd was extremely invested in the match. Most people predicted Roman Reigns was going to win, and he did. He spears Balor and gets the pin. After that, there was a match with Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke. And the match was kind of short, but I just wanted to note the bump that Dana took on the ground. It looked very painful. I don't remember what it was exactly, but she fell off the apron and then landed on her back on the concrete, and it looked like it hurt a lot. But the match just ended in a double countout, and Sasha leaves, and then there's a backstage segment with Sasha and Bayley, where Sasha tries to leave and Bayley stops her, and they have this like very emotional conversation where Sasha says she could be more like Bayley, like being more inspirational to the children and stuff, which I thought was kind of out of nowhere, but I think this is all going to lead to the women's tag team titles being debuted tomorrow, but we'll see where it goes from there. After that, it was the Alexa Bliss and Mickey James promo. Alexa pretty much says she's beaten every woman in the locker room. Ronda Rousey comes down from the crowd and runs after both of them. She slams Mickey James, and then the officials come out to help her. Then pretty much, I believe, Constable Corbin comes out and says Kurt Angle's too lenient because, he banned Rousey and didn't really do anything about it. But Kurt Angle pretty much says that Ronda will get a title opportunity at SummerSlam if she doesn't attack Alexa until next week. So that's most likely going to happen. So yeah, we'll see what goes down at SummerSlam. Then the last match was with Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley versus Elias. Elias attacks Rollins before the bell rings, and honestly, the match, I thought it was pretty good with these three. They're three of my favorite wrestlers. I predicted that Lashley would win, and he did. Same way that Roman won with the spear, but to Elias. And yeah, we have Roman versus Bobby Lashley again. And I kind of want Lashley to win, but we'll see what goes from there. And that's about it for Raw. Moving on to SmackDown on July 17th at Wilkes Barre, Pennsylvania. Starts off with a Jeff Hardy in-ring promo. Says he feels quote-unquote broken, and he says he will classify himself as obsolete, just like he did in Impact Wrestling. So I wonder if that's a callback to the whole broken gimmick, or if he's not going to quite go there yet. After that, it was AJ Styles versus Andrade Cien Almas. Almas looks like he's getting more comfortable in the SmackDown ring. I really liked the match. I thought it was great. I really see a lot in Almas. I know not a lot of people like him that much, especially when he was NXT champion, but I think he has a great future in SmackDown. So yeah, the match was good. It ended with AJ Styles winning with a calf crusher. And after that, there was a backstage segment with Aiden English and Lana, pretty much with Aiden English trying to tell Lana to apologize for him on to Rusev for what he did at the pay-per-view. And I don't know if this is the beginning of the end of Rusev Day with English, but we will see what happens. After that, there was a match with Becky Lynch and Mandy Rose. Becky Lynch wins with the Disarmor. It was okay. thought it was kind of slow, but the whole purpose of the match is so Becky could call out Carmella, saying, she made everyone tap out and she wants the shot at the title. And then I believe Paige made the arrangement of Carmella versus Becky this week. And if Becky does win, then she gets a title match, I believe, at SummerSlam. After that, there was a eulogy for Team Hell No by The Miz. And I thought this was actually pretty funny. The Miz coming down the aisle with Kane's mask on a pillow, and he was shaking random people's hands in the audience, and it was like very serious when he did it. And when he got into the ring, he was still promoting his Miz and Mish's show and his MVP status in the baseball game, and asked everyone to stand up for a moment of silence. And then all of a sudden, Daniel Bryan, he has his music hit, and all the pallbearers that were in front of the Miz get in position, thinking he's going to come down the ramp. And then Daniel Bryan attacks Miz from behind, and then attacks the pallbearers, and as usual, the Miz runs away. The next segment is with Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy for the U.S. Championship. The main thing that happened was Randy Orton interfered and repeatedly threw Hardy into the steps. Nakamura just watches from a distance as Orton starts pulling on Jeff Hardy's earlobe, and yeah, it looked pretty graphic, but a lot of people seemed pretty grossed out by it in the audience. Then he just tossed him over the table, and then officials come out to try to stop Orton, but then he ends with a draping DDT off the announcer's table. But man, that seemed pretty graphic, and I was scared he was going to rip his earlobe. I'm sure he was being as safe as possible, but it did look scary. So that was it for SmackDown. And 205 Live, the only thing I can note is the last match with Lio Rush and Akira Tozawa. I thought it was okay. I thought it could have been a lot better, but maybe their feud will go on. But after that match, Cedric Alexander approaches Drake Maverick backstage and asks for his next opponent. And Drake Maverick sets a fatal 4-way, and the winner will face Cedric for the title. That's it for 205 Live. Next is NXT on July 18th. And it starts off with Dakota Kai versus Lacey Evans. That was a kind of a slow match. I think the whole purpose was to start building up Lacey Evans because it looks like they're going to start giving her a push. Not sure about her gimmick, but we'll see where she goes from there. Most of NXT was just a bunch of backstage segments or video packages, but there was one big match, which was the main event, and it was Nikki Cross versus Candice LeRae versus Kairi Sane in a triple threat. Winner will face Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. Before they could start the match, Shayna Baszler interrupts and then joins the commentary. The match was, in my opinion, kind of too fast. There was no slowdown. It was kind of chaotic, but there were a lot of good spots here and there by Nikki Cross. She did a inverted DDT to Candice LeRae on the ramp, which I thought was pretty cool. And then there were Mamma Mia chants after the powerbomb superplex combo. There were actually a lot of chants for Nikki Cross and Kairi Sane, and that was really cool to hear. A lot of back and forth. But Candice LeRae started getting some momentum and did the lion salt to Nikki Cross and goes for the pin. And before it can get to 3, Kairi Sane came out of nowhere and dropped the insane elbow on both of them and gets the pin. wins the match and is now the number one contender to face Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's title. But I believe that's it. Yeah, that's it for today's show. I hope everyone enjoyed hearing my thoughts and commentary. My brother will be back next week. I'll either have him on the phone or we'll just do our regular method of recording. But if anyone is interested in more of our stuff, we can be found on Facebook or on Twitter at Wrestling Lowdown. Be sure to subscribe or comment if you enjoyed anything, and we'll definitely see you all next week with some more wrestling news and commentary.